What Drives You is brought to you by Ziglar, your premier source for equipping life and leadership coaches. Visit Ziglar.com and let them inspire your true coaching performance.
Yeah.
Welcome to What Drives You. I'm your host, Kevin Miller. Thanks for joining me again as I talk with today's most influential changemakers to uncover what truly drives them and extract the big takeaways from their insights so you can integrate that wisdom and leverage the power of your unique inner drive and wake every day to your authentic, driven, and inspired life. In this episode, I wrap up our series on self-coaching. This is the big idea, the big takeaway, and the big action. Where we distill it all down. And following are the highlights that I got from my initial talk with Ajit Nawalkha. He's co-founder of Mindvalley, founder of Evercoach, and the Dharma Coaching Institute. He's also author of Live Big, the Entrepreneur's Guide to Passion, Practicality, and Purpose. So I kicked off this series with him as the expert. I also brought in for part 3 to talk about my initial discussion with Ajit. I brought in Dan Miller, author of 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love. He's also my father. He's been coaching for 30 years and is who brought me up in an upbringing of getting coached and on this topic of self-coaching as well. I'll tell you the punchline of this series is to self-coach and to know what outside coaching you may need, which you do, we all do. You must first know yourself. There's the punchline right there. The best that you can for now. And I'm going to end this episode with a list of some really powerful resources to help you do just that. Here we go. All right, to kick us off here, the big idea on self-coaching is that the most successful people coach themselves. They get to a point of coaching themselves. Now, we all need outside guidance as well, but even to figure that out, we've got to have some personal understanding of us. But I want to talk about this aspect of coaching for just a second. We're talking about getting guidance, getting mentoring. We do all need that in our lives. Now, we can get that from books. You're getting that here from this podcast and from the incredible people that I bring on the show. You can then also get literal personal coaching, maybe even counseling as well. At the end of the day, though, it is just you. You end up just with you, and you've got to be able to maintain whatever guidance you have gotten. And a big part of this series is realizing that I want everybody to have as a takeaway that you've got to take responsibility for the end action and results. Sometimes we look for guidance and we want to put all the impetus, all the responsibility on this resource out there. And yet it ends with us. And we've got to, at the end of the day, believe in ourselves more than any guide to get us to that end result. And I say that with great gravity because we're talking about our personal confidence, our personal self-identity. That's a big thing. That's at the core and the foundation of everything that we are doing. And it's not just an easy, pithy thing to throw out there to, hey, know yourself and be your own guide and have confidence in yourself. Yeah, that's a huge issue and a big part of what we're trying to break down here. Another aspect of this is that Ajit brought out. He says we often get inspired, great inspiration. We have a revelation from a peak event or a conversation or some resource that we found. And it's great. I mean, so I want to elevate that. And yet what he talked about is we often then quickly lose traction. And we've got to, again, come back and realize that whatever that is that just lifted us up, that inspired us, that got us excited, that gave us an epiphany, that is only as good as our ability to continue it, to take away something from it and continue on with that in a daily habit, in essence. So I want to, again, uplift that. I love to have that big peak event or peak understanding come through for myself. But then, and what I've learned is now I've got to figure out, okay, how do I hold on to this? Not to that big emotion. You're not going to probably hold on to that. Matter of fact, you're going to lose that. And a lot of times when you lose that, you get really disenchanted in essence. And so to get that and go, okay, I'm on a high right now. How do I hold on to some key anchors in essence? How do I keep some key anchors? And it's got to be something that I can walk out the next day. Again, folks, I'm going to end this episode with some resources to help you with that. Ajit also talked about in this same concept of even when we get inspired, we are generally going to default to our most comfortable state. That sounds kind of pessimistic, but we want to get the stuff out on the table and say, okay, you're inspired, and yet you're going to default to your most comfortable state naturally. And that's okay, but we need to be aware of that and figure out how can we, again, insert some different habits, some different actions in here. And it got me to thinking too, that as humans, we most want to, maybe our core personal life desire is to belong, to belong in a place, to belong with people. And that is good and right and true. Okay. But we need to realize that that is a draw, and sometimes it can take us astray. And we also just want to belong to ourselves. Can I just be comfortable? And we will, again, default to our base self, which is often something we want to evolve beyond. So let's have grace for ourselves, but some understanding and go, okay, I want to change that default state, that comfort state that I am going to gravitate towards. Another aspect here that Ajit brought out in our first talk together was this concept of too many choices. There are too many choices out there in the world of guidance. This is one of them. Here's a podcast. There's a lot of other podcasts with self-improvement, personal development, self-help concepts. There's so many choices. How do we pick what we're going to listen to, what we're going to take in? We have a finite amount of capacity to bring in new information every day. How do we figure out what to listen to, who to follow, who to read? Again, it's going to come back to, and I'm going to keep repeating this, knowing ourselves, knowing what we need. What do you need right now? What are you most desiring? What are you lacking? Where are you succeeding? And where are you failing? These are some of the key things. And you don't need to take a long time. Take 5 minutes, take 2 minutes, and just write down that. What are you desiring? What are you lacking? What are you frustrated with? What are you inspired by? And look at those and narrow down, okay, wait a minute. Do I need to be participating or taking in this blog, this podcast, this book? It may be interesting, but it really in context with what you really need most. Again, you've got to do a personal audit here to figure out what of all the choices out there you need to take in. Again, I've got to do this as well. What do I need most for my personal life right now? What is most important to me? What is most, I'm usually thinking about what do I need? Like, where am I lacking? Okay, that's where I need to open a book up for me generally in the morning in my personal time and get some guidance. Same thing with my business. What do I need most? Okay, let's keep me on that focus. Even though something else may be interesting, the shiny object, the carrot out there is interesting, but where do I need to focus my attention? That's on me to do a little auditing of myself. And again, this whole thing of know thyself, I'm cautious to put that out there because we're going to spend our entire lives seeking to know ourselves. So I can't tell anyone right now, hey, just know yourself to figure it out. Know yourself the best that you can. Do an audit. Take a little time. Again, whether that's 2 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours or 2 days, whatever it is you need to do to understand where you are right now and then give that your focus. And that's really the big takeaway, folks. The big takeaway here is the shortest part of this whole episode. It's knowing thyself. And again, that's a lifetime process. So knowing yourself the best that you can right now. So don't get caught up in that. Don't let it be overwhelming because it is. Know yourself, do a little bit of an audit. Again, just some basic questions. What do you need right now? Back to what I said. What are you desiring? What are you lacking? Where are you succeeding? Where are you failing? And you can trust yourself. Because I think that's what comes down to it a lot in this whole knowing thyself and this concept of self-coaching is we don't necessarily trust ourselves. And there's some aspects where, we can't see the forest for the trees with ourselves a lot. But we can trust ourselves by doing some of the work just to know ourselves. Doesn't mean that we think that we have it all figured out. We never will. but we need to do a personal audit that only we can do. So again, in that aspect, here's the big takeaway on self-coaching: knowing yourself to the best you can right now. Don't let it be overwhelming, and look at it as just a basic audit of yourself. How am I doing right now? Do a check-in, personally and professionally, easy ones to look at. And how are you doing? So on that note, how about the big action? How do you do that? How do you learn more about you? I'm going to mention some resources here that I do a lot because they're so significant. None of them are super complex. None of them take a lot of time. None of them take a lot of money. And these are not, I want to say, are these the exhaustive resources for this concept? No, they're honestly the ones that just came to mind as we were doing this series, ones I have utilized, ones that I have benefited from, ones that I have heard great testimony from other people as well. So I'll kick off Working Genius. I talk about it a lot. This is Patrick Lencioni, one of the most well-known business coaches and leaders out there, and just a great guy on a personal level. I've had him on the show, I think 2 or 3 times. His latest book is called Working Genius, and we had him on here for a series on that. Workinggenius.com is a profile that he created. They are selling zillions of those. It's probably been out a couple years now. Zillions of those. Corporations are buying them by bulk numbers because they're getting so much benefit out of that. And it helps you look at your work and what your working genius is. But I take it further just into life. I know that when I took the test or the profile, which by the way is $25. So workinggenius.com, it was $25 unless it's gone up, but $25, pretty cheap for the value, incredibly cheap for the value of it. And it looks at where is your working genius? What really is your greatest mastery for you? Are you somebody who wants to take, in essence, like a blank sheet of paper and an idea and craft something out of it? I love that. And yet some of my dearest friends are terrified of that. Hey, they hate that. They want to take the structure and now really maximize that, put the skin and the bones and everything on that. That terrifies me. I'm not good at it. I get lost in that. I just want to go over here to the blank piece of paper. And there's other things, managing and admin and finishing is one. Are you a great finisher? Do you love to finish something, to wrap it up? Again, I'm really bad at that personally. So workinggenius.com. Another one, very similar, but different. And I include it as well. I would do both of them, is Spark Type, SparkType.com. That was created by Jonathan Fields. I've also had him on the show a couple of times. I think that was the last time I had him on, was about a book that he wrote called Spark Type. And it's looking very similar to Working Genius. What is it in your work that really sparks you, that makes you come alive? Which is important to look at because we can often get caught up in our work specifically, but in our lives, in doing what we are good at. And Jonathan does a good job of going, okay, this is not just what you're good at. This is what really sparks you. That's where you want to be working, not just the thing that you are good at. I think often when it comes to mind, I go back to sports, and I was really naturally gifted in ball sports, baseball, football, soccer, whatever it was. I did really, really well in those, but I didn't really enjoy them. I ended up going to cycling. I didn't really enjoy them. So again, be careful about what you're good at. We want to find what inspires you, what sparks you. So Spark Type, that's a free profile. We have done a series on the Enneagram. I give that a lot of value. The Enneagram, that's a profile you can take, and you can, we had last Ian Morgan Cron on the show. Typology is his podcast you can check into. Ian Cron, you can type to write whatever podcast you listen to right now, Typology, and learn about the Enneagram. He talks about that daily amongst the context of life, and he can give you the resources for where I think you can go to typology.com. I think that's him, and take the Enneagram there. But just a great profile for understanding yourself. We just recently did a similar thing on Human Design Blueprint. Human Design, but humandesignblueprint.com with Erin Claire Jones. We did a series with her on that. You can go there and you can take a free little profile there. And then if you want to take the bigger one, use the code DRIVE and you can get 10% off of that. That one has some controversy around it because all it does, different than the Enneagram, which is going to go through all these questions, and it kind of makes sense that it creates a profile. Human design is only off your birthday, date, and time, and location, which is kind of like a astrology type concept, which I grew up thinking that's nothing but blasphemy coming from my religion. So again, we've had great feedback and we've had some controversial feedback on that one. Either way, I took the profile myself and it was incredibly useful in showcasing to me what I know to be true about myself. So there's some of those. Another resource, shameless self-promotion, but it's what I wrote my book for, What Drives You, by me, Kevin Miller. And that is great at letting you do a personal audit, taking you through the key areas of life and questioning what you want and understanding yourself within that. Another one specifically on the self-coaching side, another book, Willpower Doesn't Work, by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who I've had on the show so many times. And he's the lead story that I use as an example in my book, What Drives You. Willpower doesn't work, though. On the aspect of self-coaching and habits, in essence, it is incredible at helping you craft your environment to help you get the results that you want, to coach yourself in the way that you want, and not having to rely just on your willpower and your grit. So powerful, powerful book. With all of these, we're talking about aspects of emotional intelligence. It just is an area that I have kept coming back to and will keep coming back to because it is just the foundation of all of our efforts at personal growth, self-improvement, personal development. And it's an area that I am very candid about that I missed in my own journey is emotional intelligence, all the performance and the understanding of social awareness and whatnot. How to win friends and influence people, even that I did so well. I missed my own emotional intelligence. And that's why we keep coming back to it on this show, because I believe it's a big catalyst for what I need and what I hear most people needing as well. From all of that, then, and the self-coaching aspect, we are looking for someone's to help guide us. And again, that can be books, that can be here on podcast, but we are looking for leadership and guidance in our lives. We just have to make sure that we are finding the correct leadership and guidance that's taking us in the direction we really want to go, that we really desire, that's authentic to us, and guidance from people that resonate with us. It's not everybody. And last, I'll end on, we are looking for what will work for us. We will work for us. And when we are looking for guidance, we can again tend to put too much responsibility on that resource and hoping it will work for us. And I get it. I'm just now on the starting physical therapy for my own recovery from my big wreck this last September, 9 weeks ago, 7 broken bones and a partially collapsed lung. And I'm starting physical therapy now. And I don't know how much weight. My pants are tight. I put on some weight and I can't do all the exercise that I used to. So I'm looking kind of for a program that will, quote, work for me. Now, obviously I want to find a path. What I'm talking about is a path that is fitting for where I am right now. But what will work for me, I will work for me. I need to not put too much responsibility on whatever resource I'm looking at, because I think what we do is we abnegate our own responsibility. And at the end of the day, it does come down to us. That's the essence of this message on self-coaching. Well, friends, thank you so much for tuning in to the What Drives You podcast. I want to thank again Ajit Nawalkha for helping spawn this series on self-coaching. Again, you can find him. He's the co-founder of Mindvalley. He's the founder of Evercoach and Dharma Coaching. So you can go check out those 3, Mindvalley, Evercoach, and Dharma Coaching. Great resources to look for guidance on understanding yourself and seeing who you want to be guiding you. And also thanks to my father, Dan Miller. 48 Days to the Work and Life You Love is one of the most classic career-focused books out there, but it is about personal development and understanding you so that you can find the type of work that you will love. And you can find him, again, whatever you're listening to on your podcast platform, whatever platform you're listening on right now, you can find him at 48 days. Just type that in. So thanks to both of them. If you appreciate this podcast and will share it with others, which would be grateful for, leave a rating on Spotify and a review on Apple Podcasts, if you would. You can find these episodes, watch them. We have more and more people these days watching the shows. You can find us on YouTube, and then on social media. We got tons of clips from every show. Just look for kevinmiller.co. And if you want to master your own inner drive, get my book, What Drives You, on Amazon. And until next time, stay driven.
Yeah.